Okay, we're live. Hi, this is Dennis Becker from weeklywebchat.com, and it's a couple minutes before our starting time. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear us. I'm here today with Steve Scott, very successful Kindle author, and once we get some confirmation that you guys are hearing us loud and clear, we'll get started right at the top of the hour. So, Steve, can you say a couple words so we make sure that people can hear you?
Testing one, testing two, testing three. Can everyone out there hear me?
Okay, like I said, Steve, we have to wait a little bit for the
Okay.
Google Hangout lag time. That's why I do a
Okay.
couple minutes before the start of the hour, because by the time they hear us, it'll probably be time to start. So it's
Okay. Sounds good.
11:59 right now as I'm saying this. Probably about 12 as they're hearing this. And as soon as we get some people to come in, I don't see the attendees yet, but they'll they'll be coming. And
Okay.
quite a bunch of people that signed up for this, actually. It's probably going to be our best attended web chat yet.
Oh, nice. This is going to be my first web chat, so I don't really know what to expect.
Yeah. While we're waiting for people to log in, uh, Steve's from New Jersey. I found out yesterday he's not too far away from me.
Yeah, like what is it, 25-minute drive?
Yeah, probably less. Um, yeah, people are logging in droves now, so they are seeing us.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet.
yeah.
Oh, well, I
So
see.
yeah, we live in the same county.
So, where is Bergenfield? Is that right near Route 17, or is that more Route 4? I know I hear the town all the time. I'm just not really familiar where it
Yeah,
actually is.
I don't know. We're almost as far east as you can go before you get over to New
Oh,
York
okay, so
City.
like River Edge or
Yeah, River
somewhere near.
Edge. We're east of River Edge, just north of Teaneck,
Okay,
east of Hackensack.
gotcha. Okay, I know exactly where you are.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just I'm a Jersey Shore person, so I still try to. I don't know anything about Bergen County or Passaic County. It's all I'm kind of learning as I go along the last year or so.
okay. Joseph says he sees us. Joseph, or anybody, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? And can you hear Dennis?
Got a lot of people logged in, so hopefully
Yep, I see them coming in.
nobody has yet said that they're hearing us, though, and that's got me a little worried, because normally by now people will have.
Oh wow, hear us. I spelled here wrong.
Okay, yeah, now there. See, that's the lag time. It's sort of frustrating when you aren't really sure if people are seeing and hearing you, or even there, and yeah, they are. So, yeah, okay, lots of people responding now, so that's great. And now it's 12:02 here. Um, so, Steve, I'll give you a quick intro. We'll get started, and it'll move this right along. And I know you got some things to do, and this can't go on forever. So, let's make good use of your time.
All right, Dennis, ready to go.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the first web chat of 2015. Thanks for being with us today, whether you're with us live or whether you're watching the replay. And yes, people always ask that question beginning if they can't stay through the entire web chat. Yes, we are recording. Yes, this automatically gets uploaded to YouTube like all Hangouts do after we finish shortly thereafter. So replay will be available. So if you can't stay till the end, but I hope you can, you will be able to watch again. And even if you do stay to the end and you want to watch again anyway, which I think there's probably going to be a lot um, transpire in this web chat, I think you're going to want to watch again. You'll be able to do that. So I'm honored and privileged to have Steve Scott with me today. You may or may not know much about Steve yet, but neither did I 6 months ago. Back at that time, I always considered that the types of books that I personally write wouldn't have a ready market on Kindle because I assumed, and you know what assume is an acronym for. I assume that IM readers tend to gravitate more to our own circles, like the Warrior Special Offer Forum and JVZoo, or follow the referrals of affiliates, or just buy off of our email promotions or whatever. And I say that's what I assumed. So at the time, I didn't focus personally too much on Kindle publishing, thinking it was a waste of time. But then I heard about Steve Scott, and I looked at his catalog of books on Amazon. There's a script called Kindle Spy, which I bought, that allows you to peek at an author's estimated earnings on Kindle. And Steve's was showing at a pretty amazing number. And he was publishing um, books similar in topic on of the books that I tend to write. So, and that many of my IM friends write. So that was sort of an inspiration. So I started watching him a little bit closer and learning about his past. He started, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but he started like many of us doing normal internet marketer types of things like affiliate marketing and email marketing and things like that. And in fact, when I joined a Facebook group that he was in, I found out that we were already Facebook friends since 2012, and I didn't even know it. So I asked him a while ago if he could spend some time on a web chat to share his success and his methods with you, and here we are. It took a while to get it scheduled, but all good things must wait. So Steve, thanks for being with us today. I hope this chat is going to be a huge inspiration for our listeners. I know it has been for me, and I have a lot of questions for you, but I want first to give you a chance to tell our listeners about your history and some of the things that you've been doing, and so let's get started.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll give a really abridged version because time is money. I don't want to waste people's time that are listening. But the Cliff Notes version is I started in internet marketing back in 2004, so about 10 years ago. Probably like a lot of people out there, I did a bunch of different ventures. I started with an Evil Eye jewelry site, which is like an e-commerce site where I sold imported jewelry from Turkey, which actually kind of gave me the fundamentals of building a business from the get-go. And with that, did make a lot of money. I dabbled in a bunch of things, and probably like a lot of people listening, I fell for a lot of the get-rich-quick stuff. I really just made a lot of mistakes early on. And in 2006, I actually invested in a pretty high-end affiliate marketing course and started kind of understanding the fundamentals of what make affiliate marketing work, and specifically email marketing. So from 2006 all the way up to, I'd say, around 2010, 2011, I really had a lot of success with affiliate marketing, whereas I managed to get down to the proverbial 4-hour work week where I'd only really need to work a couple hours a week on my affiliate marketing business. And at the time, it was a lot easier to build an affiliate marketing business because I leveraged YouTube, ezinearticles.com, a blog where it was way back when, which probably people listening can remember, is with SEO. It was a lot simpler to build content sites and have them rank and get people on your email list. And once they're on my email list, I just promoted different affiliate offers. So around 2010, I was going through a kind of personal struggle, had a bad relationship, and it ended. It was like this time in 2010, so it was January, February. It was a lot of snow, so I was basically trapped in my apartment for weeks on end where I really couldn't go anywhere. So I just decided to do something else with my time. I had an affiliate marketing business, so I decided that I want to start blogging. So I started the Steve Scott site, and like pretty much everything I do, I just made a lot of mistakes at the time. And with Steve Scott's site, I just basically talked about a bunch of different topics, which is like the worst thing you could do with a blog. But eventually, along the way, I started kind of drilling down on internet marketing. And the reason I drilled down on internet marketing, or at least teaching the principles of internet marketing, was because in 2010, I decided to take an 8-month trip through Europe where I was literally living out of a backpack. I just had my laptop, and I was just posting updates on a daily basis on my blog. And honestly, the content wasn't very good. But what I started noticing is a lot of people were responding not really to the kind of self-improvement lifestyle type of stuff. They wanted to know how I was actually able to travel on my own, how I was able to support myself and sell money coming in. So I just found myself talking about affiliate marketing, talking about internet marketing, that sort of thing. And just eventually I just started really drilling down and just focusing on teaching internet marketing on my blog. Now fast forward to 2012, I was looking for another strategy to build traffic back to my blog, and I heard about Kindle publishing. And I actually, Dennis and I talked about this before. I actually bought his course in February 2012. It was one of the first I checked out, and I went through it. It was great material, and I promptly didn't do a damn thing. I just didn't. I saw it was great. I didn't take action on it, and I did write a Kindle book, but I didn't really do much with it. And actually, the Kindle book that I air quote wrote was 5, 6 blog posts I just put together in a Kindle book and put it up on KDP, and again promptly forgot about it. And it was in July 2012 when I started thinking about that first Kindle book. I put a second one out there, but what it did differently was I put the first Kindle book in KDP Select, gave away for free for 5 days, and I started noticing after that promo ended, I was actually making some decent money with it. And so in 2012, I decided instead of actually blogging content on a consistent basis, I had the one thought that's really, I feel, has changed my life, that instead of actually blogging on a consistent basis, what if it took all this content, had a theme around each piece of content. So what you would do with a normal blog post is just really drill down on one idea and write a book about that one idea, and then take another idea, write a book about that idea, rinse and repeat, and keep on really focusing on one specific problem that you're solving for each Kindle book. And since then, I've segued into the habits market, and we can talk more about actually the choice later on. But I've really decided that the self-publishing and Kindle publishing will be kind of, I guess, what I would like to do for pretty much long term. So I guess that's a pretty decent recap of the last 10 years.
That's great, Steve. So you started writing books for Kindle in 2012, sort of, and
Yes.
um, probably not at a very quick pace, I guess, in the beginning. But um, one thing that I liked, I was reading your blog yesterday, and um, you've been very transparent about your results and your methods on there. And I recommend that people go there, um, and we'll give the links later on. But I was really impressed when in a recent blog post you said that your results have basically come from trying stuff, making mistakes, seeing what works, and focusing on the winners. And that's a direct quote from your blog post. And that's something, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been trying to teach that for a long time. Back in 2006, I wrote a book called $5 a Day that, my biggest and favorite quote in there is "Failure is your friend." Encouraging people to make mistakes and learn from them and move forward from there. So that's really, I was really happy to find that the same things still are true in your experience. So how many books have you published on Kindle so far?
I will give a sort of vague answer. I know it's in the mid 40s. I actually am at the point I don't really know. I think it's around 45 to 47, and don't quote me on that, but I think that's a good guesstimate.
Okay, so if you started in early 2012, and this is not quite 3 years later, so you're going at the rate of more than one a month. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would say, let me just jump in real quick. And part of that was I actually tried a whole line of children's books. I actually tried to take a shortcut, or I outsourced a lot of the writing and tried to have someone else do a lot of the content creation. And that was definitely a failed mistake, but that actually taught me valuable lessons as far as the importance of building your own platform, writing your own content, having your own unique perspective. And I guess my point here is that 15 of those books are definitely shorter books. I do mention it on my new podcast, the link to those books, but I really try not to talk about them too much because I don't think they offer too much value.
Okay, so you're saying you got like 30 or so of your own?
Yeah, 30 of my own-ish, and yeah, about 15 or so that I try to outsource. But
Okay.
like everyone else, I try a bunch of things, and then I kind of what that quote that you talked about before, I try a bunch of things. I really only focus on the things that I actually see work for my business.
Okay. I see a question. We'll go through a lot of the other questions later,
Sure.
but I see the latest one. George Ann says, "Does he outsource his writing?" And I guess the answer is no, really.
Yeah,
Other than those experiments you had with the children's books.
I would say once in a while, I would say for every book, maybe 1,000, 2,000 words. If it's more research based, like find 15 websites that talk about this, I'll have my VA go do a quick research on that, and I'll outsource that writing. But I try to have the content specifically from my perspective, or I'm actually working with a writing partner now for our perspective. So the last two books, I wrote with Rebecca Livermore, so we try to at least couch all the content from our experience or from people that we talk to and that we directly quote.
Yeah, I bought one of those books that you did with Rebecca, I forget the exact title, 33 Ways or something. I forget. It's one of your recent ones, and I thought it was pretty neat the way you sort of, um, as a reader, couldn't really tell which of the co-authors were doing the speaking because it was all in the third person, right?
Yeah, it was that one I still question about, but we did that from a third person instead of saying I, which would really get clunky if it was Rebecca talking or me talking. It was I would just put Rebecca does this, Steve does that, and I admit it's definitely clunky to read, but I couldn't figure out a better way of doing it. But I just found that like we have our process, which I guess I'll just describe really quickly, but I'll actually write the outline. She'll write a pretty thorough second draft, first draft. So it's pretty much almost ready to go, and I'll just go back over it, make sure the whole narrative is makes sense. It just doesn't sound like where you can tell there's a break from who's actually talking. But
Yeah, no, I thought that worked pretty well actually.
yeah, I like it so far. It's a whole new skill set I've had to learn, but it's definitely been an interesting experience.
Yeah. Um, so you got 30-ish books of your own on Kindle. Do you? Um, I know you have taken some of them or a lot of them onto softcover and CreateSpace and on Audible. Uh,
Uh, yeah,
do you use other platforms as well besides Kindle, like Smashwords or Barnes and Noble or whatever?
I actually don't. I like CreateSpace. I like Audible because it helps get a little bit of extra mileage from my books. And actually, I find that Audible is about anywhere from 10 to 15% of my sales will actually come in from Audible. So I absolutely love it. So it's usually, excuse me, it's usually anywhere from 3 to 5 grand a month just from Audible. But I just found that I guess it's, and well, I'm probably going to talk about this throughout this webinar, but I just find that really focusing in on one platform, I just get a lot more mileage by just really talking to my audience where and just telling them that hey, you can only get this on Amazon. You should go directly there and download it. And I just find it easier that way to really leverage one platform. I do have plans that in a couple months I might move a couple of books out of KDP Select. I just find that right now for me it just really makes sense just to put everything in on Amazon.
Okay. So you haven't really had the experience of being able to do things like people talk about having a perma-free kind of
Oh,
book that's always free on Kindle because they're price matching a free book on Smashwords or something.
oh yeah. I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Yes, I do have. I do. I should backtrack. I do have two perma-free books, one for my internet marketing business and one for my habits business. And I'm definitely rolling out a couple more perma-free books for the habit stuff. But yeah, I just had a book go permanently free called Habit Books, or sorry, Bad Habits No More, and that actually acts as an entry point to my overall habits funnel. So I definitely do recommend people listening that you want to actually try to have one or two books on perma-free, and that just acts as another way to not only build your email list but build your authority on Amazon and just get more people, get more attention for the work that you're putting out there.
Okay. So did you notice a positive effect sort of immediately after you put a book on perma-free?
Yes, I did for the internet marketing one, definitely. But for the Bad Habits No More, I've noticed a slight uptick in email subscribers. But a mistake that I made is I actually decided to change my entire lead magnet funnel, the entire emails entry point to my habits book, and I decided to make an audiobook version of Bad Habits No More as my lead-in. And I just noticed that overall people just don't seem to be responding to that as like they used to for my 77 Good Habits lead magnet. So I'm actually going back and changing that funnel back and just trying to make that original offer a little more sexy, a little more enticing. But it wasn't. I think it definitely helps. I think the actual execution part was bad on my part, but I definitely think the perma free is absolutely something that people should have in their business.
Okay. Um, if you can give an answer to a sort of it depends kind of question, how long are your typical books as far as like word count?
Okay. I would let's see. Okay, sorry. I'm making a mistake of looking at the chat and trying to talk at the same time. I should just stop doing that. Okay. So sorry. Can you rephrase that again?
Yeah, I was asking about your typical
Oh,
word count on your books.
Yeah, okay. When I first started out, I was writing anywhere from 12,000 or yeah, 12,000 to 15,000, and I just find that the increase in competition on Amazon is just it's just getting more brutal out there to try and kind of rise above the competition. So I would recommend for people listening to do anywhere from 15,000 to 20,000. And right now my books are clocking in around 30,000, but I'm actually starting to think that that's not the greatest strategy in the world, having these longer books, because I notice that people want specific content to really focus in on their unique problems instead of something that tries to cover everything. And I like the last two books I published. I just think they're perhaps there might be a little too broad for the topic I'm trying to cover. So I would say a good answer. I would say shoot from anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000. That's the range I think that I'm going to be shooting for moving forward.
Okay, great answer. When you go into writing mode, do you set a like a daily word count goal for yourself? I want to write 1,000 words a day or 5,000 words a day, or
I do try to write. I do I actually talk about in a couple of books. I'll follow the MIT strategy, most important tasks. So I'll write down 2 to 3 tasks I absolutely have to complete by the end of the day, and invariably one of them is writing. And when I do write down my goal for the writing day, part of my day, is I always make sure to hit a certain word count. So it really depends on my schedule. Sometimes I'll put down just write 1,000 words, just make sure I just get some writing done. But sometimes I'll really try to be ambitious and write 5,000 words. But I think a lot of people worry too much about the specific word count, and they stress out if they're not hitting a certain word count every single day. I do think it's important, but I think what's more important is not the specific word count, but it's the fact that you do it on a daily basis. And again, this goes back to why I talk about habits. It's just the habit of getting up every single day and putting your butt in the chair and writing. I think that's way more important than hitting a word count.
okay, great. Um, so um, I think I've read in your blog or somewhere else that you're sort of slowing down the pace of your writing recently. Um,
Yes.
why was that, and how has it affected your income if it has?
I'm not gonna. I don't want to lie and say it's helped my income. I've definitely seen the last 5, 6 months my income has definitely decreased, and again, I think that's a combination of the competition and Amazon and the fact that I'm now publishing every 6 to 8 weeks, whereas I used to publish every month or so. So it's definitely negatively impacted. I felt for me to grow as a person, I had to almost take a step back to go 2 steps forward. And just a simple fact, I really want to start my own podcast. I want to, I guess, put more content out there, talk about self-publishing as a general whole, instead of just trying to constantly just write Kindle books and publish them. And just for a sheer fact, I just think it is going to be more competitive out there. And I think that as authors, you can't just put books out there and expect that those will only sell. Especially if you're just relying on Amazon, you need to build a platform around your books. You can't just put stuff out there and expect that Amazon will always be there to sell your books, or whatever platform you choose. You need to build something around every single book that you publish, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I just decided to slow down my writing and focus more on strategic stuff and kind of the overall plan and the actual execution. Does that make sense? I kind of mumbled my way through that answer.
Yeah, no, I think it does. Yeah, um, I know you mentioned that most of your books are strictly on Kindle, so you can take advantage of KDB Select. And I think there's been some controversy about whether Kindle Unlimited is good,
Yeah.
bad, or indifferent. What have you found? I forget exactly when Kindle Unlimited was announced, but has your income sort of skyrocketed since then, or otherwise?
It, it was, I think it was released on July 19th. I definitely go wishy-washy on this one. I really like Kindle Unlimited at first, and then for a while I hated it. Now I'm back to being kind of lukewarm about it. I like it for the fact that if we're really starting out and building a business, it definitely can be an additional source of income. But I think once you have an established platform, it can actually hurt you because, excuse me, because there's it's just it hurts sales where people, they won't actually buy your books a lot of time. They'll actually just do it on Kindle. They'll actually borrow it on Kindle Unlimited. And I just found that my numbers, I've actually tracked my numbers over the last 6 months since or sorry, so it's July. Yeah, it's been about 5 or 6 months since it was released. And I see a downward trend, and I see the books that were there was a couple books that were consistently earning about $1,000 per month, and that was for about a whole year before Kindle Limited was released. And I know since then, since after it was released, some of them are down to $600, $500, $300. So I definitely noticed a downward trend because of Kindle Limited, but I do like the fact that all these borrows do get people on my email list, and they kind of help build my overall brand. So to be perfectly honest, I still am not really decided on Kindle Limited. I like it some days I don't like it. Like I definitely get a significant amount of Kindle Limited borrows, but my overall earnings are definitely down, and I think that's one of the contributing factors.
Okay. Most of my books that I have up, I have on other platforms, like available as ebooks on my regular Nanocast platform. So I can't put them on KDP Select, and if you're not on KDP Select, you're not on Kindle Unlimited either. So I don't really see the stats. But does Amazon tell you which books are borrowed, or is it just all lumped in as one big number?
No, they do a pretty good job. With the KDP dashboard, they have that. It's now when you log in, you see the nice red, blue, and green line. The greens are the
Right.
free bars. The blues are your Kindle Limited borrows, and then the reds are your sales. And what you can do is there's actually a little drop-down menu where you can sort it by individual book, so you can see how your Kindle Limited borrows are for that book, or if you want to actually break down by country and per book, you get that breakdown as well. Like, so you definitely can drill down. I do try not to really stress out about too much about how each individual book is doing, unless it's a new book that I'm launching. I'm more kind of worried about the overall business as a whole. But with Amazon now, their tracking tools have gotten a little more sophisticated, where you can drill down and get a lot of data about your specific books.
Okay. So when you say your income went down for some books, is that just the sales, or are you including the Kindle Unlimited and KDP Select?
Oh, I should probably better explain that. What I actually did was I just took my old sales report. So every single month they actually have the sales report come in for July, August, that sort of thing. So I actually really sat down. All the United States reports from the last 2 years. I just figured that this is probably the same principles apply to all the other countries, and I just literally actual amount that each book made for every single month. I think this task took me like 10 hours one day. It was just a very lengthy task. I put it all in Excel spreadsheet. I actually accumulated how much, I added up how much each book has earned total of my business, and I broke it down on a percentage basis. So I just really wanted one spreadsheet I could look at and see how each book has done as part of my overall business. And I did this for a number of reasons, and one of them was I just want to kind of see which books sell the best, why they sell the best, and what are the consistent winners, and one of the ones that really did well for a couple months and then just died off. So I'm trying to see patterns in my own business and trying to figure out what's working and how I can kind of take this information and apply it to future books I write.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, it's a little bit techy, so it's
yeah.
kind of an odd answer, but if you understand Excel, it's pretty simple to figure out. And actually, if you remind me, maybe I'll try providing some sort of template that I use. I prefer not to show the actual numbers of every single
Yeah.
book.
No, I understand that. Um, I don't think we've actually talked about your income yet, but I think aren't most of your books like 99 cents to 2.99, sometimes free here and there. Um,
Yes.
wouldn't a Kindle Unlimited or KDP Select um, purchase actually make you more money than if you made the sale?
Uh, at one time, it was the same. So when it first came out, I think it was $1.80 something, and the royalty I generated from each sale is $2.10. So it's about a 30-cent difference. But at the time, I was like, well, it's fairly similar to a sale, and that's just the volume is there to actually make up for the decrease in sales. But it since has gone down to, I think last month it was $1.36. So it definitely has decreased. And I think that's part of the problem. It's just people are getting more used to the kind of Netflix subscription model than instead of actually going out and buying books, which, again, I think I like it, but I'm not too sure about it. And I do apologize for the vague answer. Just it's one of those things that won't really know for sure long term wise. But I would say for anyone starting out, if you have any sort of platform, you just get it going, then I would just recommend being part of KDP Select, because you can build out a lot from just the tools that KDP Select gives you.
Yeah, and you might get sales from people that wouldn't have made the purchase anyway if it wasn't free. So
Yeah,
You
definitely. And
never know how many, what percentage of your business is that way. So that's good. But okay, do you mind taking us through sort of a progression of, like, you started in 2012? I don't know. Can you do sort of a timeline as to how your income started growing?
actually, hold on. If you give me 2 seconds,
It doesn't have to
actually,
be, you don't have to go month by month. I know on your blog you're pretty transparent about your income figures, and people can get it there if they really want it.
actually, let me put this in the text chat real quick. It's actually for the podcast. I actually wrote down literally every single month and every single action I took. I'm just looking at this page right now. Did you see that just come up? It's
Yeah.
selfpublishingcorporation.com/income. Um, yeah, so literally what I did there is just I went through every single month and the actions I took. But I would say for 2012, it started out anywhere from $40 to a couple $100, and it really wasn't until I actually started working on it full time in 2012 that I hit the actual $1,000 mark. And actually, at the end of 2012, I hit $6,000. And from 2013, it progressed pretty well, where it was a nice, decent full time income where I was generating anywhere from 6 to 10,000, and at the end of 2013, so pretty much this time last year, things just started really exploding when I started really focusing on the habit books, and that's when things went up to the 20,000 per month. And in May, I had my best month where I hit 65,000, and since then it's definitely gone down because I had a couple books that just really took off like gangbusters, and since then it's been in the 20 to $40,000 range. And I haven't seen the stats for December, but I think that's somewhere between 18 to 20,000 for December. So I'm not gonna lie where it say it hasn't gone down, but I'm trying different things. So right now my income doesn't reflect my effort at this point because I'm really trying a bunch of different strategies to grow my business for 2015, 2016, and so on.
Uh-huh. And when it sort of spiked up to, like, I think you said $6,000 around the end of 2012,
Yes.
about how many books had you published at that point?
2012, the end. I think I was at book number 7 or 8, so it was fairly early on. And at the time, I was just instead of actually let's see, 3, 4, yes, yeah, 7 books around 2012 is when it started jumping up. So it was really the daily action I was doing. I was just focused on trying to publish a book every 3 to 4 weeks, and it really was just sitting down focusing on one subject and trying to, instead of putting it in a warrior special offer, because I've had a lot of experience with affiliate marketing in the background, I just decided instead of putting it as a WSO, I just decided to put it in a Kindle book. And really that was a model I followed all the way up till I decided to switch over to Habit Books.
Did you do anything special to market those books?
It was all email marketing. I would say we could probably spend the rest of the whole hangout just talking about email marketing. But I'd say that was a huge focal point of my business. Is I already had not a huge amount of subscribers. I think maybe I had 5 to 7,000 email subscribers at the time. But every time I had a new book, I would just release on KDP Select, and I would just tell people, hey, this book's going to be free for the next 5 days, but can you do me a solid and just go review it? And I learned early on that reviews were really super important to Amazon, so I just told people straight up I would love to keep on continuing publishing these books for free. Just if you don't mind, just go check out the book and just leave a review. And I would say from the first couple of days, I would get anywhere from 30 to 40 reviews pretty much off the bat, and these were all organic reviews from people who already knew, liked, and trusted me. So that was my strategy then. I've kind of switched over to the 99-cent launch strategy, which I feel really for me has exponentially blown up my sales.
By blow up, you mean made better?
Yeah, I'm sorry, blown up. I'm using my own personal language. Yeah, significantly exponentially grew my sales. I guess that would be a more eloquent way of saying it.
So you're saying you're not using the free days on KDP Select anymore?
I try to, and actually, it's now a strategy that for a long time I poo-pooed free days, but now I've actually gone back and I like them for older books that maybe I don't really actively promote anymore, but if I kind of want to reward anyone who follows me or tie it in with another promotion, I do like to give away free copies of some of my older titles. So it really is, it's one tool in my toolbox that I try to help promote all books. But I definitely use free books on the older ones. Just for new ones, I almost never release it for free. I just find it's easier to sell for 99 cents because with Amazon, if you get a lot of sales in a week or so, it helps with their visibility with showing up on their top 100 charts and their email campaigns. And the customers also bought pretty much everywhere that Amazon promotes a book. If you get a lot of sales over a week or so, Amazon does a lot of the heavy lifting to help promote them.
Uh-huh. So you start them at 99 cents, but just temporarily, right?
Yeah, I would say I do it anywhere from 5 to 7 days, and I like to give people an absolute firm, like, this Friday at this date is when I'm going to start to think about changing the price. But the problem with Amazon is you'll go for a price change, and it could be somewhere from a couple hours all the way to 2 days later. So I just let people know that there is a deadline, but I always honor that deadline. That right at that time, I'll change the price. But then it might take a couple days for Amazon to change it.
Yeah.
But I always like to give people a chance email, and that's actually another important part of my business. Is I always do email my list and say, hey, you got one or two more days to go check out this book, and then I'm going to raise the price. And I always make sure I follow up with that, where I actually do raise my price, because people know that I'm actually serious when I say I'm going to raise my price. I'm not just kind of using internet marketing double speak just to increase sales.
Right. And the price you raise it to is usually $2.99, so you can get the
Yes.
70% royalties.
I really love $2.99, and I feel some of my books, the ones that are, especially the ones written with Rebecca, that are 150, 160 pages, that are 35 plus thousand words, that are pretty much longer books. I feel I could get away with selling them for $4.99 or $5.99. I like the fact that you get a lot more per unit sales, which again helps the overall brand. It gets people to join your email list. I think it fits nicely where people join your email list and they see that you have 10, 15 other books to buy, so they go check out one book and they potentially could go on buy 3, 4, 5, even 10 of your other books. And I've had a number of people email me and say they've went out and bought my entire catalog just by checking out one book. So I like the idea of a fairly low entry point and trying to build those repeat customers.
Mm-hmm. So, again, back to the end of 2012 when you had like 7 books and $6,000 a month. Had you written any of the habit books then, or did they start later?
I'm sorry, what date was that?
You said the
2000.
end of 2012 when you started to see like $6,000 a month income.
I would say when I started really focusing on, I'm actually going through my income report. It helps me keep track of this stuff. I would say the first habit book I wrote was May of 2013, and
Okay.
that's actually just I wanted to start a case study on Steve Scott's site. So like I'm just gonna go pick a brand, start publishing Kindle books, but also start to build a whole authority business around it. And I did not imagine it would take off the way it did. So I wrote a couple books in that market, and then I decided pretty much in September 2013 I was seeing some positive numbers, and I decided I was going to really just double down on the habit stuff and really just focus on building up that brand. And for me, that's when I think things really changed. It's when I just really focus, instead of talking about internet marketing stuff, I just focus in on the habit market and kind of personal development. And that's actually, for me, it's more enjoyable, because I'm always trying to improve my life. I'm always trying to build habits. So it gave an outlet for what I do on a daily basis, where I could write about that and provide content while also making money from it.
Did you have any reason to pick the habit niche?
Actually, I did sit down and I want to write about something that I personally enjoy and something I know I do on a daily basis. So I did I did the exercise a lot of people recommend when it comes to finding a niche. You write down your personal interests and you do some research and you kind of find that merging point of passion with profitability. And a couple of topics I initially chose were running, because I'm a big exerciser. I love running, and travel hacking. But I ultimately decided not travel hacking, because while I do love traveling, I just didn't envision myself traveling all throughout the year. I do like taking a couple trips, but it's something I didn't really think I could really invest a lot of my personal time into doing. And I just picked habits because I figured out that my whole life pretty much changed when I started really developing the mindset that I can improve myself, and by improving myself, I can actually not only improve my business but improve my relationships and yada yada yada. I just found that it's more enjoyable because it's just something I do on a daily basis. And I actually went out and I did the research. I looked on Amazon, see what books are selling. I went over to ClickBank, see what type of products I could potentially promote. I went to Udemy, that's Udemy, and kind of looked at the different products there. I just looked all over the place and really saw if this was a actually viable market. And I looked at a couple of books in the marketplace, and at the time there wasn't too many habit books, but I saw a couple that were there that were selling really well that just showed that people do have an interest in habits and that could actually make money from it. So since then, I think there's been a lot of habit books that flooded Amazon, but at the time there were only a few, and I saw that specifically Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit that was selling pretty well, and that was a book I thoroughly enjoyed. So it just seemed like a natural kind of segue for my business.
But it's not to say that you couldn't have picked some other niche or genre or whatever and done equally well. I mean, I don't want to encourage people to say, well, if you want to earn as much money as Steve Scott does, you have to write habit books.
Yeah, and I would say just not from a not wanting competition standpoint, but there really is, like, I wrote a book called Habit Stacking. There's now 20 habit stackings, and I always look at that time like, oh, I've seen that one before. Like, I guess the point is you don't want to just go out there and try just replicating what everyone else does, because you might make a lot of short-term sales, but long-term you're not getting anywhere. And I think it's really super important to kind of figure out what you want to talk about. And it should be a fairly broad market where you can talk about multiple topics and multiple books, but you kind of want to figure out where you're coming from and just think about all the different problems that your market is experiencing and then just write books about each specific problem. Now, I guess the younger version of me 10 years ago, I probably would have picked running because I was a very competitive runner at the time, and that was something I was really into. It was just one of those aspects of my life now that I do run. I do enjoy the occasional running of a marathon, but it's just not something I'm passionate about at this given moment. But I guess my point of all this is you really want to find something that you really find interesting that also makes money. So you really want to do your research before even just putting a Kindle book out there. You want to just find something that you can talk about well, and also that makes some money. It's a lot of it just comes down to researching a particular niche.
Yeah. The point I'm making is there's a lot of niches that you could research
Yes.
and settle on that you could write a lot of books about. Um, that
Yeah.
they could do just as well. So don't just copy Steve Scott, or don't just copy Dennis Becker, or don't just copy Hugh Howey, or don't just copy Stephen King, or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of Stephen King, you just write nonfiction, right? Did you ever consider fiction, or you just not your thing?
I would love to actually. I think if I could get the technical writing, if I learned how to be a technically good fiction writer, I think I would love doing it. I just don't think I have. I think it's something I would have to really work on for a couple of years. And right now, I'm just more concerned with building a business. But I have a whole Evernote full of all these different awesome book ideas. I just don't really have the time or the actual technical skill to do it. But it's something I would like to do down the road, and maybe when my business is a little more stable and automated, it's something I'd like to pursue. Just at the time, again, it goes back to focusing. I don't want to try doing too many things, which ultimately can distract me from what's actually working.
Yeah, focus is good. I've heard that said before. I think I've said that before myself once or twice. But
Yes.
uh, you you have two author names, Steve Scott and S.J. Scott. Was there a reason for that, or you just changed course in the middle of the stream?
Yeah, that was a dumb mistake on my part, and
Oh yeah.
I keep I keep on meaning to go back, and I guess I'll explain it a little. When I was doing the case study, so there's the original blog Steve Scott site, which talks about internet marketing, and there was Develop Good Habits, which is my habits site, and I felt that I really wanted to, which was a mistake. I really wanted to just try to build the habit market without any sort of help from any other platform. And I guess at the time I really had ambitions of doing a true case study where I'd show what it's like to start a business from the ground up. And I quickly realized that it was just I was shooting myself in the foot by writing books and not really telling anyone about them, trying to be like quote unquote pure to the case study. And it's not like I was ever trying to make money from the case study. So just one day I'm like, you know what? I have this list of people on Steve Scott's site who are into internet marketing. They're probably into productivity too, so might as well just promote my productivity book to them. And I've really felt that helped. And I guess the point behind the pen names is I wanted Steve Scott and I wanted S.J. Scott, and I kind of wanted the people who are into internet marketing be able to read the books for internet marketing, and the people into habits be able to read the books for habits. I didn't take the 5 minutes to do a quick search for the pen name I was going to choose, and there is a really popular erotica author or romance, I'm not sure, of J.S. Scott, who if you're not really being careful with the way you type in my pen name, you see a lot of erotica, so there's definitely some brand confusion there. And it's just, I guess it goes back to, again, mistakes. I should have taken that 5 minutes, and I've dialed back a little bit now with my email list, and I keep on meaning to go back to my author page, but I'm trying to rebranded a little bit where I just put Steve quotes S.J. Scott. So I'm trying to at least let people know the name that I use. And I think moving forward, eventually, I'm just going to try putting it all under one umbrella, just put everything as Steve Scott. I'm trying to find the right way to do it, because what I don't want to do is the people that are really interested in habits, I don't want them really going check a lot of the books that are my older books. I really just don't. A lot of the internet marketing stuff, I don't feel works as well like it used to. So I don't want to create too much confusion, because I find that the habit stuff is really working. So I want to make sure that I'm providing a very clean reading experience where people are able to check out the rest of the content.
And your habits books are the S.J. Scott books?
Yes, yeah, yes, they are.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to find Steve's catalog, just type into an Amazon search bar S.J.
Actually,
Scott books, and that'll bring them all up, or you can click on his author name there. And
Actually, I'm going to make it really easy, and that's, I guess, the one thing I did well is just go to habitbooks.com, and it just automatically redirects to
okay.
Amazon. But
Okay.
I learned quickly on of my mistake, and I just felt it was too late to do anything about it, so I just created a simple URL redirect. And actually, when I'm doing these interviews, when I'm actually inside my Kindle books, I always make sure I emphasize that URL over other ones. So they click on a URL and just automatically brought to all my books. And I guess for everyone out there listening, if you go to your domain registrar, just find the section that says URL forwarding, and just create a really simple, easy to remember name for I almost said habit books, a really simple, easy to remember name for your books, and just make it easy as possible for people to find it. So if your name is Dave and you talk about nutrition, you could have Dave Nutrition Books, something easy like that. Just it's simple, easy to remember. They can click on it and go check out what you have to offer.
So your internet marketing background has served you well in doing things
Yes.
that many Kindle authors wouldn't even know was possible, which is
Yeah,
great.
I would think that was common sense, but I don't really see too many people doing it. I use URL forwarding all the time, but
Yeah.
it seems like some sort of revolutionary thing with authors. But I don't really see too many people doing it. I see people just go check out my books on Amazon, and I cringe a little bit. I'm like, just no, give them a link where they can find it. Make it super easy.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about the 80-20 rule, and I wrote a book about that myself, but have you found that your successful books have followed the 80-20 pattern? In other words, 20% of your catalog accounts for 80% of your income, or?
It's a mix. I've had a couple that really, like the one in particular, Habit Second, that took off. The last time I checked my chart, I think that was 20-30% of my earnings just from that one book that just did really well. But I would say, yeah, it's definitely 80-20 rule definitely applies to the fact that there are a couple books that sell really well. But I also found that there's a couple of steady books that they might not break any chart records over the course of my business, but they consistently sell well every single month. And I kind of mentioned that before. There's a couple books that sell anywhere from $700 to $1,000 every single month, but it's very regular, it's very reliable. So I think the advice I would give to people is you do want to build up your book catalog, and you want to have that mix of the ones that do really well, while also having those ones that are very just consistent every single month that you can rely on. But I would say the 80-20 rule throughout my business has been an important principle, because I really find that there's certain actions that have the most value, and there's certain activities. Like I really try to focus on the things that really work, and I'm pretty proactive about eliminating everything else out of my life. Like pretty much I'm the worst social media person, because I just find that social media, for me at least, it just really hasn't helped sell a lot of Kindle books. I try to my best to respond back to people. And actually, Dennis, I am sorry for not responding back on Facebook. I'm terrible at it. If you message me on Facebook, don't get your feelings hurt, because I keep on forgetting to check. It's just not part of my daily ritual. But I just find social media really hard to follow. But anyway, my point is just you really want to figure out what's working for your business and really drill down on those particular techniques.
Yeah. So point being, if the 80-20 rule does work, and I think it does in many aspects of our lives, you can't expect to just write one book and get rich. You got to write a bunch.
Not at all. Obviously, everyone loves those overnight success, like the E.L. James, who has 50 Shades of Grey, and how that took off for her. But those are exceptions, not the norm. And I think even Hugh Howey talked about how Wool took off, but he had no idea why it took off. It was the one book that the right place at the right time. And what he did smart was he saw that Wool took off, so why don't I write a bunch of follow-ups to it? He saw that one success that was starting to do well, and he leaped on it and really leveraged it. And I think for everyone listening, the same thing. If you find that's one thing's really working, figure out why it's working and try to do more of it.
Good advice. Um, I've read in your emails or on your blog or whatever that you're rewriting one of your most successful books.
Yes.
Why is that?
That was again going back to mistake. I looking back on the content, it was very confusing in some sections, and I just don't think I did a good enough job really explaining a lot of the principles behind the habit stacking technique. And a lot of the examples really were just kind of like no duh common sense stuff. So it's gotten trashed. It's gotten a lot of negative reviews, and I'll be the first one to admit it that it wasn't as good of a book as it could have been. So I guess the point here is I still like the model. I still do it every single morning. I still follow a series of habits first thing in the morning, but I feel that I could definitely improve on the whole business model, and I've actually gone out and trademarked the habit stacking phrase because I really feel that moving forward, this could be a flagstone book. This could be part of my whole overall habits brand. So I really want to make sure I do a good job with the second version and really just try to build off of that. But I feel that while it definitely has made money, I feel it definitely needs to be improved upon.
So it's still making a decent amount of sales, even with a lot of bad reviews out there?
It does okay. I actually haven't really looked at the last couple of months, but I still think it makes a couple thousand a month. I just think because there's so many reviews out there, both positive and negative, that in a way that people see that there is honest reviews on it, so that they pretty much know ahead of time if they're not going to like it, they're not going to buy the book. But if they do have some interest, they will go check out the book. But I definitely feel for me, it's also it's also something that kind of every time I look at it, I wince because I know I didn't do as good of a job, and it's in a way it's my biggest success and also my biggest personal failure. So I'm just tired of looking at all the bad reviews on the book. So I can't stomach looking at it anymore. So I want to improve it and actually remove the book from Amazon once I actually get that improved version. But
So you'll rewrite it, version two of it or whatever, maybe under the same name or maybe not, but then kill the
yeah,
old one and
yeah, just
completely republish and start from zero with reviews and
yep.
whatever.
And just be honest, and actually I already have kind of the intro laid out of the book, but just be honest about how it actually like how I made some mistakes with the actual content and try to improve upon it. But yeah, definitely, I definitely want to improve that version.
Okay. Um, Here's something that really could inspire me, because I mentioned that when I first looked at Kindle publishing, I didn't think that it really was a viable way to make money for the kind of books that I tend to write. So in the beginning of your journey, when your publishing income wasn't so high and probably definitely wasn't enough to be a full-time income, how did you stay motivated to continue writing and publishing?
I think for me, I had the advantage that unfortunately a lot of people didn't have, that I had already a business that was kind of ticking along and I was earning money from it. So I didn't feel that income was as important at that given moment. But honestly, I just focused on the small successes and the idea that I thought of this book idea a month ago. I put it up on Amazon and I was making some money from it. It didn't really matter how much. It was just something that just popped in my head. I put up there out into the world and it was actually generating income. And for me, it was just very addictive that I could turn all these thoughts and all these kind of weird little things I do with my daily throughout my day that perhaps this is something that people actually pay money for. So I guess to answer your question, I really wasn't focusing in on making a ton of money. I just saw the small successes and what those small successes could lead to and what they could actually mean in my life. So I guess I really just focused in on all those tiny things and just saw the potential behind the whole model instead of the actual money I was making at that time. And just anytime you see a small success, if you just figure out how you can blow it up, then really that's kind of the good mindset to have.
Right. So you were writing, you were getting a little bit of money, but you were making the bulk of your income from affiliate marketing or something, and just at
Yes.
some point when I don't know whether you call it luck or whatever, when things started to take off, you realized that hey, this can be a full-time thing, and you started writing more
Yeah.
seriously. Is that
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty all in from September 2012 all in at that point, and just I know it sounds weird, even though I was making a full time income from affiliate marketing. I just saw that I literally just thought of this idea and it was actually generating something on its own, and it wasn't tied into me promoting it. It wasn't tied into me telling people constantly go buy it. It was just I put it on Amazon. I was smart about how I launched it, and it was just generating income. And I felt that it was just kind of neat in its own way how it was just working on its own. I don't like using the word passive income often, but I just felt that it really was kind of passive. Just put it out there, did it right, and then it was just generating income. And for me, it just became really addictive.
Yeah, I can see how it would be. Um, how do you manage to get so many reviews?
That is, and actually, I'm running into a little trouble now because my latest books don't get as many reviews like they used to. I just find that just having the email list and kind of building a brand in not only the Steve Scott market but also the habits market, and just being honest with people, I would just put a book up for 99 cents when I launch it, and I just ask for people to leave reviews. I do that through email marketing. I always mention, hey, a review would really help, and I try to show people how to leave reviews. But a couple more techniques that have really worked lately is every time I receive a complimentary email about one particular book, I'll respond to their question or whatever they're asking inside the email, and I'll leave a link at the bottom of the email. Say, hey, if you really like this book, would you do me a favor and go to this link? And I make sure it's like the link to the review itself of that particular book, so I make it as easy as possible. Can you go to this book and leave a review? Even just cut and paste what you just said about this book would be really helpful. So I try to make it as simple as possible. And another thing I do is whenever I'm starting to get a lot of response back from that one person, potentially they went out and left a review, I ask if they want to be part of my street team. And this is something I've kind of taken from the fiction authors, the idea that you want to build a team of people who already like your content, already like your books, and you offer them a simple value exchange that every time I come out with a book, I'll give it to you for free. If you like the book, please leave a review. I try to keep it as simple as possible, as no obligation as possible. I try to make people think that they absolutely have to. Like, you can be part of the street team. I'll send you books for free. If you like it, please leave a review. And I try to just keep it nice and friendly. And every time I come out with a new book, I'll email this group of people and say, hey, here's a new book. Here's your copy. If you like it, go check it out. And I just find that for me, reviews, I try to build them. I know it doesn't sound fun, but I try to build reviews one review at a time. I try to make it easy inside the book as well to leave a review. I try to build all the positive things around leaving reviews, and just try to get them one at a time, really.
Yeah, that's been the frustrating thing for me is getting people to review, even people that say, yeah, I love your book, and yeah, I leave a review, and they don't. And
Yeah,
it's really frustrating.
it is frustrating, and sometimes I try not to do follow-ups. I try not to harass people, but yeah, it's definitely frustrating. And it really is a numbers game. The more people you have on your email list, the more people you connect to, a lot of times the more you do for other people, the more they're willing to reciprocate. So
Right.
I wish I had a secret website that I go to or some sort of tool, but it's really not. And that's why a lot of times you'll see my reviews are really a mixed bag. They're not all positive reviews. A lot of times I definitely get my fair share of negative reviews, and there's not too many books you can find of mine that doesn't have at least a couple of negative reviews. So it's just a matter of just building mechanisms around getting reviews and trying to be as aggressive as possible to get people to leave reviews.
Do you have any, when you're researching or considering new topics, or even back when you were deciding to get into the habit books, were there any keyword strategies that have made you successful, or
Uh,
have been a
I'm,
waste of time, or what?
this might be the shortest answer in the world. I don't really worry about keyword tools. I don't. I know you mentioned Kindle Spy before, and I've heard good things about Kindle Spy. I just don't personally use it, and I actually am kind of starting to really come down on the idea of just building a business around keywords. I do use the Amazon Predictor tool. I try to see what keywords pop up when I type in a phrase. I do go over to adwords.google.com. I try to use their keyword planner and try figuring out what keywords are out there. But I do try to put one keyword in the title, and I try to make sure, at least on Amazon and Google, it's a pretty popular keyword, and I make sure I put some decent keywords in the 7 keywords that Amazon gives you. But overall, I don't know. I just don't really like the idea that you can find keywords, and really, if everyone's targeting the same keywords, you're going to get the same type of books. I'd rather just kind of figure out a little bit of what people want, but trying to have my own unique perspective on it. And just I just find that when people are just worried too much about keywords, all they'll do is they'll write about books that really don't relate to one another. So I've seen a lot of people's book lines where it'll be the wheat belly fat diet, then it'll be Minecraft, then it'll be how I made money talking about the wheat belly fat diet. It'll be like 3, 4 different types of topics, and they're not really building a brand. They're just focusing in on keywords and what they think will sell. And I think, yes, that makes money in the short term, but I don't think long term it really helps. So I do think keyword tools can help a little bit, but I think it's a small activity that might help you a little bit. I just don't think it's as important as people make it out to be.
Okay, so you don't stuff your titles with keywords and, you know,
Oh no, no, no.
yeah.
I've seen people do that. It looks horrible. It really, like, or at least I know a lot of readers on Amazon, they know what to look for. They see a bunch of spammy titles. They know it. If someone just jamming a bunch of words in the title, it's probably not going to be a good experience and a good reading experience. And I think the people who are putting these books together, they underestimate how smart Amazon readers are. They know if you see a 20, and it says it right under the initial price, it just says this is a 20-page book, this is a 30-page book, and they can tell by the keyword stuffing. People are smart. They're not going to fall for this for very long if you see that you're just trying to spam Amazon with a bunch of thin content. It just doesn't work. It might work a little bit here and there, but just as a long-term business model, it's just not going to work. It's like thinking back to what Google was like way back when. You could put a bunch of junk content in Google and have it rank, but now it's become such a sophisticated search engine that really only the best rise to the top. And I think Amazon's the same way, where eventually using any sort of short-term strategy is really not going to pay off.
Good advice. Yeah, I remember when it was easy to rank in Google and Google AdWords, and it's relatively easy to rank on Amazon right now, you know, compared to Google at least, but that doesn't mean it always will be the case.
Yeah, and I would say for everyone out there listening, trust me, if I knew of some, well, probably I wouldn't be talking about it, but if I knew of some sort of short-term shortcut where I could do a little bit of work and not have to work the rest of the week, I would be doing it. I wouldn't be talking about all this stuff where you have to spend actually effort and time putting into a business, but I just find for me this is what works. It's just actually caring about your business. That's what works. And I know sometimes people don't want to hear about it, but this is from 10 years experience. This is what I found has really worked for me, is when I actually really started investing the time and the skill set into building something that lasts.
Yeah. When you publish a new book, does that tend to jumpstart sales again of your older books as well?
It really depends on the book itself. I've seen a lot of, I saw with habit stacking, all my other books, I saw almost an immediate 50% increase on sales on all the other books in the habit line. And I do see, actually, the one I just released a couple weeks ago, Level Up Your Day, I noticed definitely all the other books, I saw an uptick on those as well. So I feel that, yes, when you launch a book, not only does that sell well, but there's definitely an improvement on sales of your other books. And it really, if you have books that all relate to one another, that definitely is the case. But sometimes if you have a bunch of books about disparate topics, a lot of times it doesn't help. But I would say one of the best strategies, and again, this is kind of a long-term strategy, but one of the best strategies is just to get more content out there, publish another book. And that's really, for me, that's been a great way just for me to sell more books, just get stuff out there on a consistent basis.
So do you do things to make that happen? Like when they join your email list, you send them to your complete catalog, or something at the end of the book saying, if you like this book, go check out my other books, and send them to your author page, or
Yes, I've tried a couple things, and this is one area that I'm actually personally struggling with. I can't quite figure out how to actually turn a single book buyer into multi-book buyers without just sending broadcast messages. So I know a lot of people that have internet marketing background, they have autoresponder sequences that warm leads up, get them to really know, like, and trust you, then go check out everything else you have to offer. The problem with that for me is I have so many books that are out there, it's really hard to pinpoint what is the most effective book offer. So what I like to do is when people join my email list, I have 3 or 4 emails that kind of establish me as an authority, talk about kind of my background, why I like habits. There's actually a personal story in there. But I keep my autoresponder sequence fairly short to around 3 or 4 messages. And then after someone's gone through this autoresponder sequence, it's usually around 10 days, they're automatically brought into my broadcast. So I know that every time I send a broadcast message, I just make sure I send it to subscribers who are at least 10 days old. And invariably, when I'm sending out a broadcast message, it's usually having to do with something, one of my newer books. So every time I'm promoting a new book, or I also do sales events where I'll group a bunch of older books together and I'll offer them all at 99 cents. And that's just through the KDP Selects Kindle Countdown deals. I group all these books together and I try promoting that as a event. So I'll have a fall sale, and recently I had a Cyber Monday sale. So I try to get people, newer subscribers, to go check out that. And when people join my email list, there's actually on the thank you page, I have a link to either my latest book or towards some of the older ones I know have pretty much are good for a broader audience, like Wake Up Successful is about morning routines. That's a lot of times is on my thank you page. And at the back of all my books, I actually have more books by Steve. But I actually tried for a while. I tried to actually figure out someone that was reading this book, they should go out check out this other book, which is sort of related. So I tried to get people to go to that book, but I just found that it didn't really convert like I thought it would. So I guess to answer your question, I'm always trying new things. I'm always trying to get existing readers go check out new stuff. So it's still a work in progress. I do have data that shows that some of these go on to sell, but I just find that just general broadcast messages through my email list is still the #1 driver of book sales for me.
Interesting. Well, I know I haven't really been reading them, but there's been probably a 1,000 questions that have streamed by. But before we start getting into some of those, I'm sure people are going to want to find out more about you. So let me pop up this one link to your podcast.
I'll read some of these. Let me go. I haven't had, for everyone listening and paying attention, I haven't been reading these questions.
Yeah, neither have I, but we will. So if you want to check out his podcast, Steve just recently, a couple weeks ago, I think, started a podcast series, which he seems to be trying to address one reader question that's left on his, I don't know what you would call it, not your answering machine, but somebody will leave you an audio question. I left one, and I haven't seen you answer mine yet, but that's okay. Yes. I'm sure you get to it eventually. But I've been reading those. I've been trying to read those every day, and they're pretty interesting, pretty good content.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. Actually, I did see your question, and it involved a longer answer, so I'm trying to keep the ones I can just do like that, like off the top of my head. I'm trying to leave those first, but you're definitely on the list. But
okay, good. I'll be looking for it.
But actually, if for some reason, for everyone that's on this webinar, if for some reason we don't get to your question, just go to selfpublishingquestions.com/ask, and feel free to please leave the question. I would love to get to everything today, but I'm not too sure of the time parameters. But I guess, Dennis, while you post that, I see one at the top I can just quickly answer.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the one, Steve, is buckbooks.net yours too, or is it just an affiliate link? Good question. It's actually my friend Matt Stone and actually his partner Rob Archangel. They actually run the same business that I use my audiobook, my print book, my format, and they kind of handle a lot of things for me. That's actually their baby. That's actually something that they have out there. I do try supporting them whenever possible, but I don't really, besides knowing Matt and Rob and emailing them frequently through my business, I don't really have any say as far as how they run their business or who they accept in their books. But I definitely love what they're doing with Buck Books, and I think eventually it could be on par with BookBub, which is a very popular book promotional site. And I know they're doing a lot of amazing things in 2015, but I would say if you want to actually contact them directly, just go through whatever links are on buckbooks.net. Okay.
Okay, I'm going back, starting from sort of the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to handle the questions? It'll be hard to talk and.
Yeah. Woodwin says, Steve, you need to take care of that plant behind you. It looks terrible.
Oh, that's my fiance's cactus. For some reason, she thought I needed a cactus in this room, and she's in charge of watering because she knows I'll forget about it. So I'll tell her. I think it's supposed to look kind of gloomy like that.
Okay.
I hope. I hate to say this, I almost never look at it.
How long does it typically take to research and write a book?
For me, I would say a week or two, and I just find I like to talk about things I'm pretty familiar with already, and if I'm not familiar with, I like to spend at least those couple of weeks kind of putting together thoughts. And a lot of times it's just a simple matter of uh, as I'm on my walks or my runs, I'll come back and I'll just pop things in Evernote, like research this or look at that. But a lot of times I kind of do research as I'm actually outlining, and I'm not really familiar with a certain subject, so I'll try to find resources and links to include in the book, or have my VA go out and do the same thing. But I would say it only takes a week or two for me. But obviously, if you're really doing a technical book with a lot of information, it'll probably take you longer. Just I tend to write more about personal development, which requires a little bit of research, but a lot of times just talk about what I go through on a regular day.
Okay. Um, a lot of these questions I'm seeing we've pretty much answered as we went through.
Okay.
But if anyone feels it wasn't adequately answered, they could leave a question on your podcast page. Um, Here's an interesting one. Do you use real photos on your book covers or illustrations? Have you seen a positive effect on sales based on this choice?
I'm sorry, real photos?
Yeah.
Like screenshots, or the person asked that question, could they elaborate a little bit? Like screenshots of a computer, or real photos, like nature photos? I guess actually a quick answer is I don't really use photos in my book. I know some people do. I just find that besides the occasional screen grab where I'm trying to show something on my computer or demonstrate something, I really try to avoid photos with my books. I find that the download size is pretty massive when you upload to Kindle, and you're charged on a per megabyte basis with Kindle, and the cost can quickly add up. I know there are a lot of tools out there that can be used to shrink photo size, but I really try not to muck around with that. But that might be something I'm looking forward to doing down the road. Just for now, I just try to, as best as possible, I try to avoid photos. And
Okay.
actually, the person who answered that question, if I didn't quite follow that, just let me know.
Okay. Somebody else wants the answer to that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read a few of your books, and I don't remember seeing much as far as images inside the book, just the covers.
And actually, for everyone out there, like I will be perfectly honest, where I don't have all the answers. And a website, or actually a part of Facebook that I absolutely love, is Pat Flynn's Facebook group. That's actually, I'm a moderator there, and there's lots of people who know a lot about Kindle publishing. They're willing to help as well. So if people go to patsfirstbook.com, that automatically redirects to Facebook. And honestly, I know there are a lot of children's authors out there who do use picture books, who do use photos. So if you want to go there and just leave a question, I'm sure they can help you as well. Or if you want to send me an email, I can go out and find the answer for you as well. It's just I don't like giving half answers. I just don't personally do it that much with my Kindle books.
Okay. So um, on your covers, is it? Let me just ask the question quickly and probably a quick answer. Do you just go to a stock photo site to get the images that are on your covers?
I actually work with a really good cover designer, so what I'll do with him is I prefer what are called vector graphics, and those are kind of the cartoony look. And I find for an overall brand, kind of a lot of my books look very similar, which helps with people will see a book, and then hopefully they'll see that that's a Steve Scott book or an S.J. Scott book, and they'll go and buy other ones. But what I use is iStockphoto.com, and they've changed their subscription model a little bit. So the vector graphics are a little pricey now. They're usually $33 on there, but I've actually just recently bought a month by month package, which is something obscene, like something like $200 a month or something like that. It's a lot of money, but I'm starting to use a lot of graphics for my podcast, so I like the subscription model. But if you go over to iStock Photo, you should be able to find a nice vector graphic, and just type in the word vector and whatever word you're using. So I'll take that vector graphic, and I'll talk to my designer. Actually, he tells me first kind of what he's thinking as far as different images that we could use, and then I go buy the vector graphic itself. But it's really, as far as the cover design, I really try to work with my cover guy and follow what he thinks is right. I try not to tell him how to do his job, and a lot of times he'll come back with the cover design, and I'll ask for a few tweaks here and there, but I just tend to trust what he does instead of trying to do everything myself. I'm really a firm believer in building teams and finding people who do things really well, and just trusting with what they say is better to do.
Okay. So let me make sure I'm hearing what you're saying. You said you don't really outsource much, if anything, of the writing.
Yes.
but you are outsourcing tasks like cover design and I guess editing.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we could spend a little bit of time on that. Besides the writing, I really try to. I'm actually trying to get to the point where I just want to be responsible for content creation and nothing else. And maybe that's a lofty goal, but I just find that really having teams around your books is really a great long-term strategy. So what I mean by teams is I have a first editor, so she goes over my book and kind of she's more of I guess what they not a copy editor. The term's elude me, and I even talked about this the other day. Crap. But she's someone who actually will go line by line, help me really figure out if that's the content that I want. Like she'll do a good amount of editing, but she'll also give a few suggestions here and there about what's not working. And once I get her edits back, I actually send it to a second editor who just does one last look at it and does the actual making sure that there's a completed book. I also use, like I mentioned, I use someone to do the cover design. I use someone to do the formatting. That's Rob and Matt, who I talked about before, and they actually handle the print version, the formatting, and my audio version. They actually have a whole team, including audio people, to actually do the whole process. And a lot of these moving parts, I have my VA. I have a full-time VA that works for me out of the Philippines, and she does a lot of the weird small little tasks like put together show notes for the actual audio version, uh, build the different affiliate links for my book. So I'm like an obsessive tracker, so I like to know that which sales came from my email list, which sales came from the last chance email list, which sales came from Facebook, that sort of thing. So she builds all the affiliate links for that. Generally, she does a lot of the small little things that I need to get done to run my book business. So I guess the point here is you really want to find people to help you with this business, pay them a decent rate, and then just have them handle a lot of the heavy lifting. Ultimately, as an author, I don't think you should be trying to do everything yourself. You want to be delegating stuff to people who do it better than you do.
But probably in the beginning, you were doing it all yourself.
I would say everything but cover design I was doing myself. I know for a fact that I am not a cover designer, and I would not even try to do it because it would look horrible. but I was more hiring a cover designer, and actually the guy I work with now, he did I think my third or fourth cover, so he was pretty early on, and I've thrown him a lot of business over the course of the last couple of years, so we kind of understand each other pretty well. But same thing, it's like when you have someone who's really that does a really good job for you, be willing to help them out by giving them more business, and it's all a matter like they want to do well with their business, and they're helping with your business, so it's very reciprocal.
One thing that I forgot to mention, not really a question, but we were talking about your podcast series. I was pretty impressed with the one you did yesterday. Um, and you'd probably spend another half hour on just this subject because it was, I think, an 18-minute podcast or whatever. But it was about establishing your author platform. Um, I think that if you were still an internet marketer, you would have turned that into a course and sold it
Yes.
for $17 on the Warrior Forum or something, or $47 course outside the Warrior Forum. But I would encourage everybody to check that out. Um, that would be, because people listening to the replay could be listening to this 2 years from now, but that would be the January 6, 2014 episode, number SPG 013. So definitely check that one out. I don't know if you can sort of summarize that in 50 words or less, but
Oh wow. Yeah, I would say it for an author platform, it's really again about the 80-20 rules. You really want to drill down on the important things and make sure you're really spending time on things that truly matter. And when it comes to an author platform, I think first off, before anything else, you really should nail down the writing habit. You should really nail down the daily activity of writing on a consistent basis, at least a half hour a day. But once you've got that locked down, I would say you definitely want to start building your email list. And a couple aspects of email list, and I think a lot of people listening are internet marketers, so they're probably familiar with this, but you want to have some sort of free offer. You want to have a lead magnet. You want some sort of compelling offer that makes people want to join your email list. You want to have it on a squeeze page, and actually you can go to Fiverr.com and just find a simple squeeze page if you don't have an existing tool. Like I personally love lead pages myself, but it can be very expensive, and I'll be the first to admit that. So you don't necessarily have to invest in lead pages, but it has some sort of squeeze page and where you can collect email addresses. And also with the email list is you want to promote it everywhere. And The analogy that I use in that particular podcast episode is picture picture an old-fashioned, old-timey wagon where they had the spokes of a wheel. They had the center area of the wheel, and they had all the different spokes pointing at that. And I would say not specifically your Kindle book business. Like you don't necessarily have to point everything at your Kindle business. I would say you want to point everything at your email list. So that means if you have a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, social media, you want to be constantly trying to drive people onto your email list. And for me, that's when a lot of success has happened, when I actually have a list of people who know, like, and trust me. Every time I have a Kindle book, I'm pretty aggressive with pointing it out and getting people to try to go buy it. But I would say you want to build your entire author platform around an email list. And again, going back to the 80-20 rule, is I love everything Pat Flynn puts out there, but a lot of times people get confused with this be everywhere strategy. I think if you're not paying close attention, the point he's trying to make is people do try to go out there and try building platforms on all these different websites. And the problem is, again, focus. If you're trying to do all these different things, you're not really drilling down on the things that really help your business. So I would say instead of trying to start a blog, a podcast, and a YouTube channel, trying to do all these things and juggle them in the air, you want to pick one of those three platforms, create consistent content on one of those platforms, and again, use that to build your email list. And every time there's a low in your promotions on your email list, you can refer or talk about a different piece of content you created. So not only are you using your email list to promote new books, you're also using it to engage them and get them to understand your niche a little bit more and to hopefully help build up that particular brand. And I would say, in addition to that, you want to have at least 1 or 2 social media channels. And like I said before, I'm not the best with social media, so definitely don't follow what I do, because I'm not good at it. But I would say that there are a lot of smart people out there who are doing great things with social media. But again, you want to just focus on 1 or 2 channels and really build up a presence there instead of trying to do everything all at once. And I think that is a very massive podcast episode where I talk about a lot of things in that episode. But I would say you just want to focus on a few things at a time, build that up, and use the success of that particular platform to leverage another platform. And one of the reasons my podcast is starting to take off is because I had the email list, I had the background, I had the Kindle experience. So when I launched it, I'm now hitting 1,000, 2,000 downloads a day just by having a whole platform that was already established. And I didn't try going out and doing YouTube. I didn't try going out and building up a whole Facebook page. I just understand the importance of leveraging one existing asset to build another asset. And there's a lot more involved with that particular episode, but that's kind of the general gist of it.
Okay. I wasn't counting, but I think that was more than 50 words, but that's okay.
Okay.
But
You did
yeah,
say 50 words.
I encourage people to either listen to that podcast or he's got show notes on all his episodes there. So
yep, good team members putting them together.
Yeah. See how many other questions I can get to.
Yeah, I think there might have been some private ones. See, that's the thing. If these are private questions, I don't know if I should answer them. If you ask me a private question, please just email me, and I would absolutely love to either cover them in a podcast or just answer them privately. But I don't. These are a lot of private questions, so I don't just want to start blabbing out off if it's something that that some people just want to keep to themselves.
Yeah. So here's one I think we might have covered, but if not, so how did you build your list?
It was one email at a time. No, it's just generally creating content. I just built the initial list from C. Scott's site. I had a email offer on the right sidebar. I had an email offer at the bottom of every blog post, and inside the Kindle books, I have a direct link to my squeeze page. And I'm trying to think, like kind of what I talked about before. It's just every time I put a piece of content out there or something to offer, I was always just very specific about trying to get people to join my email list. But I don't really have a exact pat answer. It's just a matter of just putting stuff out there and just getting people to join. And I just found that actually the biggest drivers of people on my email list were actually Kindle book readers. So a lot of times it just helped throw on one another. I'd get people that were reading the Kindle books, they'd go and join my email list, and they just kind of grew exponentially. And actually, if I can't do it, I can't If you go to stevescottsite.com/book-launch, my friend Nick Loper actually had a really good launch of his Kindle book. He actually helped grow his email list pretty significantly by launching a Kindle book. And he did this without actually having a really huge authority platform. So you go check out that blog post. That's that can kind of help you lay the groundwork of building an email list from there. Just have a really good couple of Kindle book launches, and you start to get a little bit of start to get a number of subscribers to join your email list.
Okay,
I
great.
think I just double check that link before I say it's absolutely.
Frank says, can you put it free without being on KDP Select?
No, you can't. Well, actually, you can
Well,
do it.
the perma-free, right?
Yes, you can do it permanently free for free, and that's just a simple strategy that you go to Smashwords, and actually, if you go on Amazon and look up Smashwords Style Guide, that's written by the owner Mark Coker, and he can walk you through how to actually create a book for Smashwords, or just do what I do and just go to Fiverr and just have someone do it for you, and it's like literally $5. It's easy peasy. Just have a book that's prepared for Smashwords, put it up on Smashwords, have it set for free on Smashwords, and in a week or so, it'll go free on not only Smashwords but Kobo, Barnes and Noble. Apple takes a while. I don't even know if my books are free on Apple at all, but it goes free to a number of places. And then you find that book, put the same book up on Amazon, find it on Amazon, and just tell Amazon that it's free at this location. I'll just give the actual link to wherever it's free. And a lot of times you need your friends or need people that know you to actually do the same thing. And again, that's another tool that I use for Pat's Facebook group. You just get a couple people to actually tell Amazon it's for free. Wait a couple weeks, and that book will go permanently for free on Amazon. And that's kind of acts as a great way to get people into your funnel. But as far as besides that, I would say you only get a free 5 every 90 days. And that's really the only two techniques that I know of that you can put a book for free on Amazon. But the perma-free technique, you do need to kind of manipulate Amazon a little bit. And I've actually heard some people actually directly email Amazon and ask it to put it for free. I've never tried it myself, but I think other people say it's pretty successful. So that's a couple different ways you can do that.
Okay. Are there additional monetization methods that you use inside your books?
I used to try Amazon Associates, and that's just the affiliate program for Amazon, where if they buy an item from Amazon, you get an affiliate link. I've since heard that that's actually not allowed on Amazon, so I've actually removed my affiliate links from that. I'm a firm believer in just trying to get book buyers to stay book buyers. I try not to create too much confusion. So I have recommended the occasional affiliate product that's not tied into Amazon. I just find it's better to focus on building up the email list, and then maybe down the road, when there's an affiliate offer, I'll actually promote it there. But I have done that successfully, where there's been a couple of habit type of products where I'll actually go back to my email list and I'll promote it to them. But I just find that the margins on affiliate products versus Kindle books is just, for me, it's just better to stick to the Kindle books.
So you'll try to get them to join your list once or twice or 3 times within each of your books, and
Yes.
hopefully that'll be a long-term monetization.
Yes, and I put something at the start of my book, and I have something at the end of my book. I'm actually playing around with that now. In the back of the book, I might try having putting some sort of end sequence where I try to encourage people to either write me personally, talk about how they're going to apply one lesson from it, or to do something where they reach out, and I'll try to at least engage them enough that perhaps they might be interested in joining my email list. So I am constantly trying to test the back of my books and see how I can turn someone who just read a book into an email subscriber and potentially a long-term customer.
Do you see a significant sales and customer satisfaction difference between your longer books and your shorter books?
I haven't really seen. Actually, I've seen on the longer books, they've generally gotten a lot more positive reviews. I haven't seen on my 2 most recent books, the ones that are 30,000+ words, I haven't seen a single negative review on them. But for me, it's just too early to tell if people are really responding to it. I like to make kind of opinions when I know for a fact if one thing is one way or the other. Just right now, I see that at least they're not getting the negative reviews like some of the smaller ones do. But for me, I don't really have a specific answer right now. But I would say maybe in a couple months, maybe if you don't mind asking me the same question again, I would love to answer it. Just don't have enough data at this point.
Okay. Do you ever go back in and like tweak your titles or your keywords or your covers?
I've definitely I know some people who've done really well by switching up their covers. Specifically, I think Joanna Penn talks about that in her podcast, how she switched her fiction covers, and they sold really well. Or I think she improved her sales. Personally, I've never really switched covers besides a couple older ones that are really god awful ugly. I did switch a couple of those, but I've never actually gone back and changed my covers. I have played around with a little bit with the keywords, and I haven't really noticed a difference in sales just by focusing on better keywords. And I have played around a little bit with the description, but same thing, I really haven't seen a noticeable difference. Um, I guess obviously I'm one person, so maybe I would, if you have one or two books, I would definitely recommend changing things around, testing them. The one thing I would recommend is just comes down to split testing. That if you change something, change one thing. Don't try changing 20 different things, because if something does well or something goes bad, you don't really know what actually affected that. You want to actually have one piece of data that you change, and you can wait a couple weeks and then know for sure if it's something that actually that you did or not. So I would just say, really just do things one at a time.
Okay. Um, Here's a question that was sent privately. I won't mention his or her name, but
Okay.
the question is, hi Steve, I'm really curious about the data you're referring to. I think you were talking about a spreadsheet. Um, I take it you have a spreadsheet of some sort that you have designed to fit your workflow. Do you mind describing that document in general terms?
Oh, the workflow. I'm trying to figure out, is that the one where I have the checklist? At the risk of sounding like I'm just promoting my email list, on my email list, selfpublishingquestions.com/free, I actually have a 46-point checklist where I just talk about every time I have a book idea, I'll print out one of these checklists and I'll actually go through the whole process with every single book. I'll cross off, all right, do I have an idea? Do I have the keywords that I found for this book? Do I have a title? And I'll literally just go step by step as I'm working through a book. If that's not what you're talking about, I guess put it in the chat again, because that's really the only thing I really do for my actual day-to-day workflow, is just this checklist for every single Kindle book that's out there.
Okay. About Audible, do you do the voiceover yourself, or do you have someone else do it?
Oh no, I wouldn't subject people to that. I'm not a public speaker, as people can probably tell. I use Rob and Matt's team. They again, email me and I can give you the link to that. But yeah, I know just from personal experience that I would procrastinate on that, and every time if I had to read 20, 30,000 words, it just would never get done. So I hire out Rob and Matt, and they actually work with a couple of professional audio narrators who actually do it at a pretty affordable price. I think I pay anywhere from $400 to $900 for an audiobook, but I would say within 2-3 months that money I make that money back, and then everything else is just extra income.
Okay. Trying to get through.
I noticed the comment, coffee and water. It's actually tea. I guess I have been doing both.
Yeah, two-fisted drinker here.
Yeah. Gotta have my tea.
Great stuff. Would Steve be willing to share where he gets his covers done?
Yes, I try not to quote stuff that might stand the test of time. So just, again, email me personally, and the stevescottsite@gmail.com. And I'm more than happy to share his contact information. I actually have a whole canned response in Gmail that just pop off every time. But I don't want to say one price and I have him turn around and say he raised his rates. So I just kind of prefer to do it through email.
Yeah. What is Steve's daily ritual? You've written 20 books about that, haven't you?
I have actually. It's actually quite a long one, but yeah, sure. I get up every morning, anywhere from 7 to 7:30. My fiance leaves for her job at 7:30 in the morning, so that kind of gets me out of bed. Usually she's nice about getting me out of bed, but I get out of bed. I'll start my habit stacking routine, which is like a collection of really smaller habits, and then this is kind of a new one I'm starting to do. I actually head out and I do a 30-minute walk, and right now it's been very challenging because it's very cold out there. So I'll go for a walk, I'll come back, and I'll sit down and I'll do my MIT list like I talked about before, most important tasks. And usually my MIT list is writing. So I'll first hour or two I'll do a solid block of anywhere from 500 to 2,000 words of writing, and then the rest of the day is kind of flexible. I either do more content creation or work on podcast episodes. I really try from 10 o'clock to 5, 6 o'clock to really be flexible in my day. If I'm recording podcasts, I'll actually be here in my office and recording it here. Or if I just feel like doing more writing or doing more marketing stuff, I'll go to different Starbucks around here. I'll just go to Starbucks and work from there. And I'd say around 6 o'clock or so, I'll knock off work and I'll go for I'll go to the gym or I'll go to the park and go for a run. And around 8, 9 o'clock, I'll sit down with my fiance, have dinner, and then the rest of the night I just relax. So I really try keeping to a really focused schedule. And I think actually on Thursdays I go down to visit my parents. So a lot of times my Thursdays it's kind of a half day, and sometimes my Friday I go see a movie with my brother and father. So I try to include a lot of other personal stuff in my life and not just be so work focused. And I'll be the first to admit that sometimes things break. Sometimes I get stressed out. Sometimes I goof off on projects, or sometimes I don't really anticipate how long a certain project will take. Like for instance, right now the podcast is taking way more time than I ever anticipated, but it's really a matter of understanding your natural rhythms, how you work best, and how often you procrastinate. So I like to do this stuff I think is really hard to do, like writing or recording podcasts. I like to do that first part of my day so I know if anything else happens, at least I've gotten the major things done. So hopefully it gets a little bit of a daily routine, but I explain it a little bit better, and I actually think about to post a blog post about that on Develop Good Habits. But yeah, that's the general breakdown of my workday.
Yeah, so stevescottsite.com and developgoodhabits.com and
Yeah,
podcast site. These are things I'd encourage people to check out.
yeah, definitely.
Not
A lot of URLs.
Yeah, not really things for sale, but you might decide to pick up one or two of his books, like I have. Steve, do you offer any free reports in your books, even if only for list building purposes?
Free reports about what?
Inside your books, like
Yeah,
like
it's
like a giveaway to build your list. You do that all the time, right?
yeah. Actually, that's the cornerstone of my business. Is I'm always giving off some sort of free lead magnet. And for the Steve Scott site, I've actually had a number of different lead magnets. The one right now is that 46-point Kindle checklist. And I find that's the most value for me, so I try offering that for free. It's something I personally use all the time. But I find for me, really the large number of lists, they seem to really have the quote unquote sexiness factor, that you see a list of something that will help you with whatever particular market. People are more inclined to join your email list when they see a collection of either tips or resources or a detailed process of some sort. But yeah, I definitely, absolutely, I try to get people as possible. And actually, if you listen to the podcast, I'm really intentional with the beginning and the end of the podcast. I have a whole spiel about joining my email list to receive this checklist, and I'm pretty honest about just me wanting people to join my email list. But yeah, I definitely recommend for people watching and listening to have some sort of free piece of content you give away in exchange for people to join your email list.
So you say that already you've only been doing the podcast for a couple of weeks. You're getting upwards of 1,000 or more downloads a day?
Yes, and I think that just having the email list and having I'm not great at social media, but I'm in that one Facebook group, and I try to add value as much as possible in that group, and just putting myself out there on the different platforms and doing stuff like this where I go on podcasts or go on interviews, and I guess I'm trying to just get people to not necessarily join the email list, but at least listen to the podcast, and hopefully they'll find it useful, that sort of thing.
Again, to people that are asking, will there be a replay? Yes, there always is on these Google Hangouts.
I'm trying to find the other questions too.
Let me go ahead.
Just that one link. Yeah, this was my buddy Nick Loper. He actually did a really good job with his book launch. And actually, if you type in Scott Britton, he did another great book launch of his book, Britton. Just look for Scott Britton Kindle. I think he did a guest post on OK Dork, and he really did a great job of explaining how he got, I think it was downloads of his Kindle book, something really significant. He did a great job of launching his Kindle book. But I think those two people out there did an exceptional job of taking a free book and getting a lot of downloads and using the kind of build up the brand. Deb, a quick answer, separate list for IM and the habits niche? Absolutely, yes. I like to talk to people on my internet marketing list and have content for them, and I definitely like to talk about different types of content with my habits list. And once in a while, I will cross-pollinate, but I'm really intentional about how I cross-pollinate. So, for instance, with my habits list, when I was trying to promote their podcast, I just said, hey, this might not be for most people out there, but I do run a successful Kindle book business. If you would like to know more, just go check out my podcast. And it was just simple like, but yes, I definitely try to, if there's a certain market, I definitely try segmenting them into two different groups of people and have different conversations with each group of people.
Okay. Bodwin asked one of the other questions being answered, Dennis. There are more coming in than answered so far. If we try to answer every question, we'd be on here another 2 hours. And I apologize. And I'm trying to get the ones that have been a little bit different than some of the things we've already covered previously in the first 90 minutes. So I apologize for anybody that didn't get their questions answered. But again, Steve has offered to let you record a question on his
please
on his side, and it may end up being a podcast for the benefit of a lot of people across the world.
And you get a backlink to your website. So if you're into SEO, you get an organic.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't. Let me scratch that. I'm not too sure if I have do follow or no follow, but you get a link to your site. I'm not too sure if it's do follow or no follow for all you SEO people out there. But yeah, so if for some reason we don't get to your question, I actually have a mastermind meeting in a couple of minutes. But if we don't get to your question, please just email me. I'm more than willing to answer it. And moving forward, anytime you have a question, I'm more than willing to help out with that.
Does Steve place a limit on the number of devices his books can be loaded on? It's a longer question than that, but that's the basis of the question.
Can you clarify a little bit? Number of like the number I'm publishing on, or the number of devices that I use?
You don't limit, right? You check all the buttons.
Oh, are you talking about maybe DRM, digital rights management? Maybe. I don't. If that's what it is, I don't enable digital rights management. I figure that the people that are going to rip off your content are going to figure out a way to do it anyway, and the people who generally want to share your books with their friends, you want to help them. I actually really, I don't mind giving away free stuff if it maybe potentially helps me find future readers. I'm all about I don't like DRM. I don't like the fact that it kind of limits how many devices people can read it on. So I never check the enable DRM. I always just let people freely share it. And I don't think there are too many people out there trying to rip off my stuff anyway. But I guess that's one of those like quality problems I have that becomes so big that people are ripping off your stuff. You're not really worried about it. You're so big that you don't really. That it's kind of inconsequential that people are ripping off your stuff.
Yeah, when your price is 99 cents or $2.99. If they can't afford that, then they're probably not going to buy it anyway. So
yeah,
and there's a lot more honest people in the world than there are dishonest. So
yeah, I like to believe that most people are inherently good. I don't like live in a world always worrying about who's going to rip you off or how people are going to mess you over. I like to think that people are basically good. And
yeah, and
I know there's
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when you're selling $60,000, $65,000 worth of books in a month, that's a lot of copies of $2.99 books.
Yeah, it does add up, but I guess that's the kind of power of Amazon and all these mass market platforms is once you find how to reach a broad market, if you know how to do it well enough, you can move a lot of downloads, you can move a lot of products in a short amount of time.
Sue asks, what do you use to format your Kindle books?
That is one of my major obstacles. Early on, I did some sort of janky formatting on my own where I didn't use any sort of Microsoft formatting, and it looked okay on the Kindle platforms, but they don't look. Looking back on them now, I'm not really impressed with it. I actually just hire out people to do my formatting, and I wish I could have a better answer than that. I don't really try worrying about formatting myself because I know I just mess it up. But again, that's the service I use through Rob and Matt. Again, it's actually on my new podcast page on the resources. I have a whole bunch of different links to the things that I use, but I send an email to them. I just send them a copy of the book, and a couple days later, it automatically shows up that I have a formatted book, and I try not to worry too much about how to do it. I know the importance of hiring other people to do stuff for you.
Here's a good one. What is the average cost per book given the team effort?
Okay, that I would say bare minimum. And actually, I did a podcast episode that's coming out in a couple of days from now. So I'd say bare minimum, you expect to pay anywhere from $400 to $600, including the cover and edits, and that's actually like the just the bare minimum stuff. You want to throw formatting in there, that's another $100 to $200 depending on whoever you find. Really, just you might have to play around and find a couple of different people to do it for you before you find someone you really can rely on. And then for me, for the audio, it's anywhere from $400 to $900, and then the print version is anywhere from $100 to $200. So I'd say all told, I usually spend anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 on a book, and that might go up in the future. I might try doing a few more things, but that's a general cost it takes for me to put a book into the marketplace. And it really depends on what you want to spend money on. And I would say if money's tight, maybe you can hold off on the audio version. And if you see your book get anywhere from 5 to 10 copies sales a day, maybe that's the point you should start worrying about an audio version. So you don't necessarily have to do audiobooks for everything. I just like having them up in the marketplace because I really truly feel audio is going to really take off in the next few years. So I want my stuff out there ready to be sold when the platform really expands.
So when you put up a new book, are you saying that you put up the audio version and the print version all basically at the same time?
Not I'll pay for it usually from the get-go, but it usually takes a week or so to get the print version back. So by the time my book goes up to $299 from the launch, a print version will be there. And then the audio takes a couple weeks because I think it just takes a long time to record audio. So I think for the level up your day, the one I released 2 weeks ago, I think the audio is coming out in about a week or so. And usually it takes ACX, which is the Audible platform where you can upload Kindle books. That's acx.com. It takes them another week to look at your book and make sure it meets their approval. So I would say from the time you start the project to get the audio to when it's actually live on ACX or Audible ready to be sold, it takes about a month or so. So I do try kicking off the project at the same time. I just know that audio right now isn't a huge part of my business. It is an important part, but it's not a huge part. So I just try to get it up there as soon as possible. But I always want to make sure that the quality is there before I upload it.
Sue asked, what was the link for Nick Loper? Did you
Oh,
type that in?
I did, and I will just
Maybe
type it.
maybe you answered after she asked.
I will type it in again. That's at the top of the chat box. tscottsite.com/book-launch. And actually, I think Nick, I don't want to be overly promotional, but I think Nick has a really good Udemy course, so you might want to check that out. Just off the top of my head, I forget the name of it, but he does a pretty good job detailing what he did.
Okay, and with that, I've reached the top of the chat box.
Nice.
Okay, you should still, people watching should still be seeing, people watching live at least, should still be seeing the um, link to Steve's podcast page. And I don't want to click on it because I don't know whether it would take me out of the actual Hangout if I go to that. But I think there you'll find links to the content, to the podcast, to maybe the giveaway report that he's offering, to sign up on his email list, and hopefully you'll be able to navigate around and find links to his author page, or just search for S.J. Scott. Well, you had a
Oh
short
yeah,
URL.
yeah. It's habitbooks.com.
Yeah, habitbooks.com. Yeah. So
I would say for the recorder when listening that ultimately my plan is to make the podcast page selfpublishingquestions.com like the focal point of everything I do with Kindle publishing. I figure for me it's time to actually do a rebrand and just focus on one site that has everything. So in the future, just go to that website and you should be able to find everything we talked about. And if you don't find something, please just email me and I would love to add more stuff to it. I kind of did an MVP style launch with the podcast where I did a minimally viable product that just got it out there, and now I need feedback and people talking to me about what they really want and what they need help with. So I would say just focus on that one website for now if you want to learn more about kind of what I do.
so that's selfpublishingquestions.com.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, check back in the chat box one more time, and Sue says she doesn't see links. Where are they? Diane,
It's
Diane says she lost audio.
oh boy.
I don't know. They should be in the chat box. They're showing for me in the public chat.
I'll just find a link to the.
Or what I can do is copy these off and um, you're
Here.
seeing my face now. Let me just put that. Weeklywebchat.com is where I archive all the weekly web chats, and I'll archive this one, of course, within an hour or so after we finish up here or go live on YouTube, and you'll be able to see it. And weeklywebchat.com, I'll try to put as many of these links into that blog post for this episode as I possibly can. And if I miss some, send me an email and I'll try to either find it from the chat that I have here, or I'll ask Steve if I need some help from him to do that. So we'll try to get that. So weeklywebchat.com is the site where this is going to be archived, along with all the other prior weekly web chats that we've done in the past. So, okay. What else? Anything you want to say? Last words, Steve? I know we've gone more than you probably expected us to, and you have somewhere else you have to be at 2 o'clock, so it's almost that time now.
No, not really. This was kind of my first hangout, so if I seem like sometimes I didn't always have the answer, it's been a great learning experience so far. I'm not used to trying to talk and look at chat boxes and try to be eloquent as possible. So if I missed a few points or if I didn't answer your question, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than willing to answer your question or to turn it into a whole podcast episode and help you out whatever way I can. So yeah, just stay in contact. And thanks for kind of listening to my ramblings for the last 2 hours.
Oh, you did great. I appreciate it, Steve. I appreciate the people that stayed on for the duration. I know sometimes people need to take bathroom breaks or whatever, but, especially when you drink all the water like in tea like Steve was doing. So anyway, thanks for your time, everybody, and thanks for your time, Steve. I appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to be closing down the broadcast.
Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.